If you want to try yourself in the preparation of cheeses, then take note of this classic recipe for cheddar cheese at home. The process, though lengthy, is quite simple. Pour the milk into a large saucepan, and warm it up in a steam bath. You can also on the stove, of course. Add the starter culture, and the enzyme based on the amount of milk. Leave for about an hour for the starter to start working. Cut the resulting cottage cheese into small cubes. On low heat, the mass needs to be warmed up, bringing it to about 40 degrees. When the cottage cheese begins to harden, carefully transfer it to a separate container. The serum can also be used to prepare various pastries. Now the cottage cheese can be sent back to the pan and warmed up for about 1 hour. Prepare a gauze or cloth to allow excess serum to drain. At this stage, you can add a little salt to taste to the recipe for making cheddar cheese at home. After about 30-35 minutes, when the salt is absorbed, you can send the future cheese under the press, pre-wrapped with a thin cloth or gauze. This simple recipe for cheddar cheese at home requires endurance and patience. After about 6 hours, the mass will look like this. To properly press the cheese, it is better to increase the load gradually, first putting a little, and every 2-3 hours adding weight. After 24-26 hours, the cheese will become hard. Now the cheese can be covered with a thin gauze, after wetting it in warm water. Top first. After the gauze is applied to both edges, lubricate the top with a small amount of butter or other fat, and send it under the press for about 1.5 hours. Then put gauze on the sides of the head, and send it back to the press, now for 10-12 hours. Here is a classic recipe for cheddar cheese at home. Now it needs to be left to ripen in a cool and humid place. It should be about 12 degrees, and 85% humidity. For the first 2 months, the head needs to be turned over daily. The cheese will ripen in 7-8 months, but it can ripen up to a year.